Okay, my friend, this is your reading, and we're looking at your request. We're looking at romance. One word, nice and easy, nice and simple, romance. So let's see what this idea, what this word conjures, or what my guides want to tell you in regards to romance. Okay, all right, romance. Okay, romance. Money. Material gain. Okay, romance for you. Romance. What are we picking up for romance? Hey now, romance. What are we going to get for romance? Romance. Right. Transformation. Massive transformation. Okay. Something needs to change. Can you see that? I can't see where it is. Here we go. Transformation and mastery. No, that's the knave, sorry. So, okay, so a different path, a different emotional path here. Yeah, definitely. That's interesting that you got the Hangman, because I was actually thinking about this card for this reading earlier, because you need to look at this from a new perspective. That's the goal. All right. The Hierophant. So there needs to be some kind of new perspective around this in terms of like a mentoring or guidance around this situation as well. Okay. Sorry, I can't see where this is looking. Is that better? Yep. Okay. All right, and a new energy, a new energetic beginning is something that you can bring to this. A new beginning to this, a new energetic beginning. All right. And we've got some kind of egoic or thought pattern. Okay, what have we got? 5. You need to change something up. There needs to be some kind of transformation and some kind of change. You're going to be offered, there's a new pathway that's coming to you around this, a new direction that you can take with this, and it's a change in energy or activity around this, some kind of active change. All right, you actually are building foundations for this right now, for this change, and it does have to do with the way that you're thinking about this. All right, so definitely some kind of, it feels as though something's come to a standstill. It's like, let me just keep going. Okay, you've got a couple of 4s. So the foundation is here for this, but it also feels like you've created the foundation for this. There needs to be some kind of transformation. Okay, and 5, there needs to be a change. Something needs to change. Definitely something needs to change emotionally. and there is a new emotional pathway that you're thinking about. You're at a stage now where there's a new kind of emotional, intuitive, you can rely on your intuition to help you navigate this, but there is some kind of a new pathway, a new it's going to present itself to you. There's a new pathway opening up to you around this. It does relate to your emotions. It could be actually that somebody is offering you a new pathway to explore, like a new romantic pathway to explore. But it feels to me as though it's more about you actually changing your perspective and expectations around this. It's more about you actually changing your expectations around this, changing your perspective around this. It may involve actually you sacrificing something, making some kind of sacrifice, or as though you feel as though you're making some kind of sacrifice in relation to your romantic world. Let's just have a look, see here. You are in a position right now where you can actually bring a new invigoration into this. You have the ability to instigate some kind of newness around this. Why is the Hierophant there? What's he all about in terms of this? You want to feel a little bit more let me just have a look. You need to feel a little bit more you need somebody in your life to feel as though they're kind of actually giving you some kind of guidance about what they need or what they want that's going to reinvigorate them as well. It's like you need them to guide you, like you're willing to kind of invest your energy in this and to put your energy in this because you've actually come to a position within yourself where you're actually feeling as though you've worked on this within yourself a little bit, whatever this change is that you're kind of in the midst of right now. You really feel as though you're ready to make some kind of enormous change around this, some quite stop one thing and just really invite some kind of newness in, and you feel as though you are actually being offered this new opportunity to explore this at the moment, and it's very pertinent in your life. It does feel very tangible to you, this change, but you need somebody in your life, your significant other who you're kind of like thinking about this. You need them to give you some kind of input or some kind of feedback around what it is that they need as well, so that when you're investing your energy in this change, that you can actually kind of feel as though you're investing it wisely and with a purposefully towards an end, because you're prepared to make the sacrifice, you're prepared to take the new perspective, you're prepared to put the energy into this and to almost like sacrifice part of who you are. It does feel a little bit something about who you are is being sacrificed here, something about your kind of like ideals or your sort of like dream life. You're prepared to make some kinds of sacrifices to look at this from a new perspective, but you need this person to give you some kind of guidance. They're not giving you the input that you need, which is kind of like blocking your ability to enact this. Sorry about the camera. Yikes, hang on. That's better, I think. Yeah, so you're actually, there is kind of like, it feels as though something's a little bit stale, something's come to a bit of a standstill. Mentally, you're not really quite sure how to make this progress, and it sort of feels like, it's like you're at a stalemate. You're not feeling any progress with this. You're trying to get something happening. You're trying to get somebody on board with you with this. You're trying to get somebody to be as as to kind of sense this need, actually, that you need to shake things up. It feels like there's this need to shake things up around your romantic, your concept of romance, and reinvigorating this. It does feel as though you, when you say the word romance, it feels as though it's lacking in your life, and as though you're desiring to somehow shake things up. I think that's what all this stability around your thoughts and emotions, it's like you're at a mental, emotional stalemate with this, and like you've put in the energy to try and get this shaken up a little bit, but it's just not coming to anything. And your goal is to like change the emotional landscape around this, to change the emotional interaction around this. You're really willing at the moment, and you're actually feeling really called. You're feeling like there's some kind of message around you to get this happening now. Like it feels very, it feels important for you to get this change happening now, and it's not happening. There's a change that you want to initiate. There's a change that you can feel is on the horizon. It's like you can feel that things can actually sort of improve somehow, like things can be better for you if this change could just come about. But yeah, you're not feeling supported in this, because it's and you really do need to feel you need the support of a man in this. You need him to get on board as well, and to tune into your energy around this, because it's sort of like this person's just not quite getting it. They're kind of almost speaking a different language than you in this situation, and it's making you feel as though you're just at a stalemate, and you don't quite know the next step. You don't know what to do next, because you feel like you have actually explored different options, and you have instigated different things around this, but it's not happening for you. Sorry. Definitely feels as though with your current partner, if you want this to progress, you might need to actually let go of some kind of ideals, let go of some kind of forego some kind of like dreams, or what's the word, not dreams, but let go of some kind of idealized version of this, because they're not able to meet your expectations around this, which is frustrating for you. Yeah, it's very frustrating for you. It's very frustrating to you. I'm gonna like just look at the archetypal energy around this. Your goal almost is to try and make your partner tune into your energy around this, but he just can't. It's just not in him. It's not really in his makeup. He feels as though he's doing the things to satisfy you on this plane, in terms of like romantic endeavors, but he's just not kind of built that way. So unless you can change your perspective around that, in terms of what you expect from this person, you're just going to keep being frustrated by it. On the other hand, you actually are really craving something at the moment. You're really craving a change around this. You're ready to heed these messages that you're getting, but it's just not quite working out. In the meantime, you're feeling really stuck in something. So what's the archetypal energy around this? Yeah, okay, so you actually are feeling as though you're ready to move in a new cycle with this, or as though you're actually at the beginning of a new cycle with this. You're feeling as though right now, like you're deserving of some kind of change around this. Definitely feeling as though you're deserving of some kind of change. You've been through the ups and downs with this in many, many cycles, and you're almost sort of like at the end of your tether with this. You're at the end of your tether with this, and you need to feel as though there's some kind of like if you stick with this, that you're almost guaranteed of some kind of positive outcome. But unfortunately, you're not going to be guaranteed of that, because you don't control the other person. You're only controlling what you're putting into it, and you feel as though you're putting a lot of energy into this. You feel as though you're sacrificing a lot to put into this. You actually feel like you're sacrificing your time. It feels like you're sacrificing your time. It feels to me like you're kind of saying, you know, I'm not getting any younger here. Like, how long can I possibly kind of keep progressing with this? So definitely feels as though you're sacrificing your time with this. What you in terms of like, let's have a look at past, present, future around this. Past, present, future around your romance. Past, present, future around romance. Past, present, future. Past, present, future. You can't make this person see things from your perspective. I think that's the problem. And they can't actually help you to see things from their perspective either. You're at a real impasse with this. And I think it's because your relationship is very practical. There's a lot of practicality around it. And that's why the romance is not translating into romance, because this is a very practical connection. A very, wow, okay. You got the Hanged Man again, which is really like you're either going to have to make the sacrifice to stay with this person and sacrifice the idea of romance, this romantic notion that you have of the idea of romance itself, or because you can't make this other person see things from your perspective. So you either need to change your perspective, like sacrifice your perspective, or you need to accept that they can't see it from your perspective, because it's not part of their makeup, it's not part of who they are. Okay, let's look at past, present, future around this. All right, temptation as well. There's a temptation to stay chained to this, to just kind of keep going without your needs being fulfilled, like your need for excitement and difference and change, and your need to explore different dimensions of yourself and the potentials that are out there. There's a temptation to stay kind of bound to where you're at, but then the alternative to that is to take a risk, okay? But here we go. Let's have a look at past, present, future. All right, in the past, you have been really valued. People have put their trust in you, their faith in you. They've kind of elevated you to a position of admiration. This person, you're kind of you've been elevated by your partners to this level of somebody who they really entrust their devotion in. They entrust you with just admiration and respect. This person, you know, there's a real respect around you. You've garnered respect, okay? Present. All right, so you're kind of creating something. There's different ideas around you at the moment. You're creating something different in your mind. There's something that's acting, something creative around this, okay? And future is, this basically says energetically you're going to persevere. It's a perseverance. So let's just have we'll expand on this a bit. Romance, past, present, future romance. It's hard to talk about romance without talking about another person, but it's the romance of romance is that somebody else is involved. So past, okay, now you've actually there's been a real Okay, so this is feeling like that's it's never really been like it's been more about like well, for you, romance has kind of gone by the wayside in favor of more practical, earthly, quite staid. It's nothing's really come along to swoosh you off your feet in the past as such. It's more about it's been more about just being even smooth sailing, keeping everything even, doing everything like it's been about sort of reputation and social settings and how you appear to people in the community, how other people perceive you. So there may actually have been a sort of sacrifice of your romantic goals, romantic ideas, romantic ideals in favor of this kind of more tempered life, this more restrained life that's been more about achieving sort of physical, monetary sort of success and social status as such. Present, but yeah, definitely you've got the 2 and the 3, and the 2, if you're making, you are at a crossroads right now. There is a time where you're really, this right now is a time when you're really looking at change. You're really weighing up what you're going to do about this. It feels as though you actually really are right now and at the point of recognizing that something has to change, otherwise it just sort of feels like it can't quite continue the way it's been going. 5 again, future, yeah, so there is definitely change around this, change and perseverance. That's change and perseverance. I'll have to look at that. Okay. Past, yeah, so there has been, okay, so 1, ace again, and the 2 again. All right, let's have a look. Past, present, future around this. Past, present, future. So like I said, it feels as though you sacrifice these kind of romantic ideals in order to just sort of settle down, be serious, be real, get your sort of practical affairs in order, and that kind of took over. Like that's what's been driving your life. That's what's driven your life up until this point where you're kind of now faced with this desire for change or desire for some kind of disruption around your romantic affairs, or this notion of romance. Presently, you are ready for something new to come in. It feels like in the past, this was satisfying to you though. This was fine, okay? You were willing to make this sacrifice in order to get this off the ground, and you were happy with that. It wasn't it didn't feel like you were sacrificing anything at the time. It didn't feel as though you were forgoing anything. It didn't feel as though you were losing out on anything. It did feel as though what you were doing was the right path. But this was more of an ego-driven thing. And when I'm talking about ego, I'm not talking about conceitedness. I'm talking about ego in terms of like us as humans, like souls in a human experience, being driven by our more base kind of needs, like our need for security, like financial security, our need for a partner, our need for food, water, clothing, all of those things. And at the time, when in the past, at the time, this felt attuned to that, and you've actually succeeded really well, because you actually have achieved like quite a level of esteem in this. You've lived like really prudently. There's been a real prudence around your life. You've done sort of like, you've ticked the boxes, done the right things, and you've succeeded in this, and you've been valued. You are valued in your life, and so that was fulfilling. But right now, you recognize that this didn't really kind of satisfy the this part of you that's more attuned to your sort of idea of like what life can be like, or the multitude of potentials that life can actually bring to you. You feel very stuck in your material world. Actually, it feels very heavy, like you're kind of almost kind of stuck in your materiality. But right now you're ready to, you got the Ace and the Two of Cups, which is like a real new beginning for your emotional, intuitive self, okay? So this indicates to me that you're actually tapping into your higher self, and your higher self is actually calling out to you saying, like, is this how, you know, do you want the next 40 years to be like the first, sort of the last 40 years, you know, like now we can actually change this. And I think this is what the Three of Swords is about. It's, you're changing, this ego is changing up, and it's there's a difference around this. There's a change, there's a new creativity around this, and you are at a crossroads emotionally. You're at a crossroads with this. So let's have a look. In the future, it feels as though if you want to kind of pursue this romantic ideal, that you're going to be faced with a choice about perhaps sacrificing your material domain or your material realm. There might be, it does feel as though you're weighing up like your material sort of comfort is going to be an issue around this. So that's what is going to have to, that's something that you kind of feel as though you're going to put on layers. There's going to be an upheaval around this, because it feels as though if you want this kind of romantic life to unfold for you, it's going to require some kind of some kind of definite choice around your stability, your material stability, because change, there is quite an upheaval in the way that you think about this. There's going to be quite an upheaval in the way that you're thinking about what romance is. There's going to be quite an upheaval about the way that you think about what romance is. Energetically, you need to persevere with something as well. So it feels almost as though you're kind of like your spirit and your mind are at odds around this. It feels like your spirit and your mind are competing. Your mind is almost playing tricks on you about what romance is and what you're missing out on. I'd invite you to consider that perhaps you're actually not missing out on anything, and perhaps you're actually idealizing romance a little bit too much, idealizing this concept of what romance is. It feels like because you've created this kind of from this these foundations that you've created for yourself, where you've kind of focused on one sort of dimension of your life, it feels as though now you're kind of like almost over idealizing what romance is, what it looks and feels like, and so that's why you kind of like feel compelled to make some kind of change around this. But it actually feels as though really what's happening within you is maybe this realization almost that you're overemphasizing what romance is, and that actually it can be more about simple things, like simple things. So I feel as though maybe that's what this change in perspective could entail for you. So if you do choose to kind of stay in a position where you're in, it feels like the perspective change relates more to understanding that your ego, your ego side is trying to trick you into thinking that you're missing out on something, that there's something that you're missing out on, and that actually that's what you're thinking when you're thinking like, oh, you know, can I keep going on like this? It's so mundane, it's so droll. Actually, that's your ego playing tricks on you. And actually, if you can take some time out and tune into your higher self, you may realize that actually everything is as it should be. Yeah, because it feels like what I'm getting here with this, the 5 here. So yeah, there is kind of like going to be this, this weighing up of your different options in the near future. I think what it's really going to kind of instigate is this real change up of how you're perceiving what you do and don't have in terms of your romantic, the idea of what romance is to you. This is quite interesting. And I think that's why energetically you need to just persevere with your spirit and get back in touch with spirit. Persevere with getting attuned to your own spirit rather than others' spirits. Feels more like that to me. This is interesting. This is interesting. Because it feels like right now you're feeling really stagnant, as though things are stagnant in your life and that there is no romance. Things are kind of like just kind of plodding along, and but you have this idea in your mind that you need some kind of re-energization or reactivation or stimulation of your femininity, of your being valued. So it said this rather than being this feels like not enough for you at the moment. You're not. It's not enough for you just to be valued and seen as this kind of like practical. You know, your practical achievements, the respect that you gain on that kind of level. It's not quite doing it for you right now. What you're after is recognition of your femininity, your the traits that you like. You need some kind of mystery or some kind of intrigue or some kind of excitement and things to look forward to and things to kind of like shake up the mundane. And that's why you're feeling actually kind of compelled to almost make changes where there may need to be changes. And it does feel as though your ego is trying to tell you, like this part of you is trying to tempt you into taking a different road with this, because you feel like you are at a crossroads with this and you don't know whether you're coming or going, and there's this internal conflict. And what the internal conflict is between your head and your heart, but it's like your humanity and your divinity almost, because right now it feels as though you need to be recognized as more of a spiritual being rather than just this like mundane being. You need to be recognized, valued, and sort of celebrated as more of a spiritual, universal, energetic being. And that's kind of like what it feels like you're asking. That's how you're kind of like thinking of romance at the moment, is to kind of like bring you on this new developmental journey. Interesting. Okay, I'll do a strengths, obstacles and opportunities in relation to romance. Strengths, obstacles and opportunities. Yeah, look, okay. So we've got the devil again, and the devil is really sort of saying to us, like, there's a temptation to be bound, but I think what this is talking about is to be bound by the ego, because the devil is like our fears. It preys on our fears. It preys on our base kind of like desires. So there is like a temptation to kind of fall into this trap at the moment of thinking as though there's something better for you. There's something better that you're missing out on. That's what it feels like. There's something different that you're missing out on, that you're somehow lacking, when actually it feels like, you know, you actually have quite a lot going on for you. But you're willing right now to make an enormous change around this. Willing right now to make an enormous change because you're frustrated that the partner here is not dialing into you. They're not attuning to you. They're not sensing where you're at. They're not sensing this inner conflict for you. And you would actually hope that they would sense this within you, because for you it feels so very prevalent and so very obvious, and it feels as though you're giving signals that this other person should be picking up on, that they're not quite attuned to, and it's making you feel as though it's just adding to this like sense of, well, you know, why isn't this person sensing who I am? Okay, let's look at strengths, obstacles, opportunities around romance. The thing is, though, are you idealizing? And is that idealizing coming from your higher self, or is it just coming from your ego and what the body and the body and the senses want? You know, is it a body sensory thing, which is also what the devil's about? Is it a body physical sensory thing? You know, is it like that kind of satisfaction that you desire, to be moved, to be like, to be that? Or, you know, is it, okay, so let's have a look at that you feel deserving right now. It feels like you're feeling as though you're deserving of something additional. Strengths. Okay, creative use of your materials. Okay. Obstacles is this perseverance that we were already looking at, that we had here in the future, this energetic perseverance. This is an obstacle for you right now. It feels like an obstacle. You feel as though you're ready to just... Opportunities. Okay, an opportunity to actually reflect on your what you've attained through the use of your ego, through the use of your mind, what you've attained. You can actually, it's an opportunity to look at that. Okay, strengths, here you are. Okay, this is you are in this position. That's what you've built up for yourself. You are esteemed, you are admired. Socially, you're very admired. People around you understand why you're in the position that you're in, because and they're investing in you, their hopes, their dreams, which can feel actually like a burden, but it is something that you yourself can draw on. You can draw on other people's admiration for you, okay? And you can use your material resources quite creatively to create something different. Okay, another obstacle is the Queen of Wands. Okay, so it feels like you're being really patient. So an obstacle, okay, so the obstacle here is that you feel like you're persevering, like you feel like, I'm persevering here and nothing's coming from it. Like I'm being patient here, I'm waiting here, but this feels like an obstacle, okay? And the opportunity here is to be successful. Okay, let's have a look. All right, and so you are capable of moving ahead quite forcefully and quite quickly with an idea around this, or with some activity around instigating this idea of romance, whatever that means to you. You are actually, and you are supported. It feels like your strengths around this definitely are that you have a lot of support around you. Other people are supporting you, but also materially you have a lot of support, which is probably why that feels to you like in the future that is something that if you want to actually go ahead and make some kind of drastic change in your life in order to achieve this ideal of romance, it feels as though you are going to have to really think about your material stability and adding to and how you've built that materiality, because you do have a lot of support. It does support you in here. Okay, obstacles. Okay, so there's the obstacle here is oh sorry, just had my emotional okay, emotional. Okay, what is that? Emotional. Okay, and opportunity. All right, so this is interesting. The opportunity again is the 5, and that was the outcome in the very first spread, the 5 of Cups. So an opportunity to really change up your emotional world. Okay, let's have a look. Strengths, obstacles. Now, obstacles here is interesting. You're being really patient with this, and you feel as though you actually have achieved quite a level of emotional maturity and emotional mastery of your emotions. But in this way, it's right now, this is actually working against you. It feels like you're being really patient, you're persevering with something, you're kind of drawing on the lessons that you've learned throughout your different relationships. And that's actually, why is that an obstacle? Why is that an obstacle? Why is that an obstacle? It really feels like you just want to make a change, and it's hard to make that change. You're being very patient around it. You're being very mature, very grounded. You're thinking about the needs of other people. You're thinking about other people's, nurturing other people. You're thinking about what they need, how your behavior affects other people. But I would ask you to remember that other people invest quite a lot in you, but that's a strength for you. Don't think that other people's admiration, respect, needs to be a burden, because they're choosing to invest that in you. You're not requiring it of them. They're choosing to give you that because you're deserving of it. They're choosing to elevate you to that level because you deserve it, okay? And that's their choice. So your behavior, your activity, what you choose to do, must serve you. You must not act out of fear of disrupting other people. That's their choice how to respond. But I feel as though because so much of your past was built on that foundation of like that kind of when I say that superficial kind of foundation of like social status and ticking boxes, doing the right thing, appearing to be behaving in ways that society kind of expects from us. Don't let that, because that feels as though that's what your obstacle is right now in moving ahead. It feels as though that's become an obstacle for you because you have attained this level of sort of social, or in your roles, in your social roles, you've attained this level of completion. But really now that feels like it could be holding you back from making these explorations. Okay, in the opportunities, if you are interested in pursuing this romantic ideal, the opportunity is there for you to change things up emotionally. It will be emotionally quite an upheaval, and somebody could present you with an opportunity to participate in that. It feels like energetically it could be very successful, as though it sort of, there is an opportunity coming up for some kind of emotional change, emotional upheaval, in which your kind of expectations, your frequency and vibration as an energetic being is going to be met, and it's going to feel as though you're kind of succeeding in some kind of romantic endeavor, and you will have this opportunity to kind of to reflect back on something from your past, to reflect back on something of your past and realize that you have gotten here. This is a really tricky reading. Romance, this is a tricky reading. I'm trying to be more concrete, but it's a very, I think it's hard to be concrete around this because the idea itself, that this is the part of the problem, is that the ideal of romance isn't potentially what you are. Okay, this is what it is. The ideal of romance isn't serving your higher self right now. This isn't serving your higher self. This ideal of romance, this ideal concept of romance is confusing things for you. It's just causing some kind of confusion. It's causing more trouble and more pain than it needs to. Focusing on this is causing confusion. Focusing on this is causing internal conflict for you. Rather than focusing on romance, it feels like you should be focusing on self-development, self-love, self-care. Because when you're focusing on romance, you're somehow giving your energy and power away to a concept, to a construct. That's what it feels like. And I feel like that's why you need to change your perspective. Because, and I think that is what you read. And I understand that things feel stagnant right now, based on the foundations that you've laid and the past that you have, this sort of like real material level, practical pathway that you've taken to this point now. It's kind of like got you at this point where now you feel as though there is no romance in your life, and that this other person in your life, your significant person in your life, isn't reading the signs and signals, but actually it's not their responsibility to do that, because their choice is to be with you. Their choice. So it's really your choice right now whether you're going to feel unfulfilled or whether you're going to let that go and let go of the ego around this, let go of the expectations of what romance is, and attune to your higher self, work with your higher self, work on not expecting others to fulfill your needs, but rather find ways to attain your needs, or recognize that it's actually not a need. It's a purely ego-driven concept. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at where you are versus where your partner is. Yes, let's have a look where you are versus where your partner is. This is your partner and this will be you. Okay, your partner. You feel as though your partner's not supporting you in this, or not understanding or relating to you in this, but they're actually more understanding than you realize. They're more attuned to this than you realize. And they're being very patient with you around this. Very patient, but you're ready to just change things up. That's interesting. Okay. All right. So your partner is also feeling as though they're at this energetic sort of. They also are weighing things up, but in a way they're trying to think of how they can be more active in fulfilling your needs around this. They're trying to figure out what they can do. They kind of feel as though they've got choices and options, but they feel as though they're not quite sure what it is that you want, but they do understand that you want something different. They're not naive to that. They do understand that you want something different around this, and you're actually ready to create something new from this right now, to change this up right now. You're ready to get creative around this, to shift things up. It's interesting that you both have aces. You are actually both at your partner is having new thoughts about this, having a new kind of realization around this, is learning something around this, probably learning something new about himself, but also you, and also, so he is actually like more committed to this process than you may realize. He's actually more aware of what's going on than you realize, and he's learning quite a lot from this. This is actually a new experience for him, and he is, within his mind, it's probably opened up some kind of new awareness. And you're actually just really ready to take on some kind of new partner. You're ready to take on some kind of new, you're ready to just start again. Whereas this person's ready to start again. You're both ready to start again, but he's ready to start again in a learning way, and you're ready to start again in a physical way. Okay, he's ready to start again in a learning way. You're ready to start again in a physical way. And he's feeling as though he's being really patient. He feels like he's being really patient and nurturing. He's provided you with, he feels like he's thinking, I've provided you with stability, with nurturing. I've nurtured this relationship. He feels like he's nurtured it. He feels as though he's actually given a lot to this and been someone for you to come to draw on, particularly financially, materially. That's been really important for him. That's significant for him. That's how he expresses love. We all have our languages of love, and it feels like his love language is to provide for you, like in the material plane, and to nurture on the material plane. But for you, it sort of feels like you are more energetically, intuitively. That's kind of like what you're operating at, and you're ready for like this. You've got 2 aces. You are definitely ready. You're feeling like something new needs to happen, or as though something new is happening within you already, which is why it's probably feeling quite uncomfortable and unsettling for you, because there does feel like there's a lot of shifting and changing and internal conflict within your mind, like I already said before, between your spirit and your embodiment. There's a lot of conflict for you. What he's not showing you is that he's actually being super, super patient emotionally as well. It feels as though he's kind of like ready to, at any point, he could just be ready to get quite, to have an emotional outburst, but he's holding it back. He's being really patient, being really trying to nurture you through this, trying to support you through this. He does recognize what's going on for you, and he is trying to support and nurture you through this. It's just that he's just not like you. He's just not built like you. I've already said that, but he's just different to you in this respect. For him, it's more about practical physical things, definitely. Whereas for you, it's more about the romance of romance. That's what drives you. That's what you thrive on. But anyway, and what you're not showing him is that you feel as though you're kind of like the physicality, like the physical world, the material things that you built up between you. That's just not really enough for you. You don't want to appear ungrateful or ungracious, but it's just not. It's not everything that you need. You're not built that way. That material side of your life is not significant enough for you. It's not what you... it's interesting that what he's hiding from you is what you're bringing to him, and what he's bringing to you is what you're hiding from him, is that you're over it. But he's actually trying to bring you more materiality. He's trying to like bring you more... he's trying to sort of bring you this more physical goods, more wealth, or more things, whereas you're trying to bring him more emotion and more connect more at that a spiritual, intuitive kind of level. So you guys are kind of like he's hiding his emotions from you. You're hiding your sense of being not satisfied with what he's bringing you, and he's hiding his desire to kind of not lash out, but to emotionally kind of like the brink of his emotions, the brink of his patience, and you're just bringing him more emotional turmoil, actually, it feels like. But that's what you need. That's what you feel as though you crave. It does feel like there's because you guys have built up this kind of material, social, superficial. When I say superficial, I'm not using that in a derogatory term. I'm not trying to say that that's not important or meaningful, but I'm just saying it's not a spiritual soul level, which is what it feels like you're really connected to at the moment, and that's just not what he's connected to, and he doesn't understand why you're so attuned to this at the moment, because he thinks that this is what he's supposed to have done for you, and that's what's actually coming between you, is this the material realm, and what can support you guys together is this, if you can get on the same, not the same intellectual level, but if you can recognize within one another some kind of agreement. It feels like some kind of agreement around this. That's what can bring you together. Some kind of an agreement around your conflicting ideas, an agreement around your conflicting ideas. You actually, because what is coming between you is this sense of, will it continue? Will it build up? Are we going to keep going? Are we going to persevere with this? Are we going to pursue this? Is this going to keep going? But if you can agree on something, it will bring you guys closer and give you some kind of foundation. But it's a mental foundation, and I'm not sure if that's going to be satisfying for you, a mental foundation, because you're actually craving more than mental, more than the mental realm. Okay, let's have a look. I'd actually like you to watch this reading and then frame some questions and contact me, and I'll do a secondary reading to clarify some points that you need clarified, because I know this reading has gone a few different ways, but I think the most important message of this reading is that it's not about romance. This isn't an issue of romance. Romance isn't the solution here. This is more than that. This is about identity, and your identity, and your ability to be authentic. That's what this is about, okay? That's really what this is about. Let's just clarify that. That's what this is about. Your identity, and this feeling like you're at this crossroads with being identified as opposed to identifying as yourself, being perceived rather than perceiving as yourself, being framed as a certain person rather than framing that person yourself. Okay. Yeah, this does feel like for you as though you're kind of like taking a risk here, as though if you kind of go ahead with a certain idea, you're going to step out into the abyss, into some completely new dimension that's really unfamiliar to you, and you're going to have to really trust the universe, trust God, have faith that that things will work out and unfold in the way that God intended, or that the universe intends for you. You're going to have to, it feels as though you're taking a leap of faith here. Yeah, and it feels very, very new to you. It feels very new for you to be exploring this and to be indulging in this self-development. I think for you, it's important to focus on your self-development now and not worry about the romantic side of things. Okay, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Please contact me, give me some kind of feedback, ask for some kind of clarity, and I'll do a follow-up reading. Okay, namaste, Amor Fati. I'll talk to you later.